I used to joke with my wife. She would ask me how my day was going to look that day in the morning, and I'd say, I have no idea.
Last minute decision to leave the cold of Minnesota and come down to Austin to sit in a room for a day with a bunch of other guys that own restoration companies. What went into your thought process when I asked you?
Again, I think there's so many things that you don't realize that you do in a day until you have to go write them all down.
You talked about using AI. AI is a great tool for you to leverage to automate a lot of the monotonous, reoccurring tasks that we have in our businesses today.
Welcome to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. In each episode, we're going to bring you insightful interviews and discussions with top restoration industry leaders. We're also going to delve into their business, the strategies that made them successful, and most importantly, the valuable lessons they've learned along the way. I'm your host, Clinton James. I'm also the Chief Marketing Officer at Water Restoration Marketing. We're a digital marketing agency dedicated to helping restoration companies nationwide secure more high-value water jobs. Now, this show, it aims to provide you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the restoration industry. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
And welcome everybody to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. As always, I am your host, Clinton James, Chief Marketing Officer with Water Restoration Marketing. Today I've got a special guest, actually a new client to the agency. We recently conducted a mastermind, and we do this usually about twice a year where we invite really a small, intimate group, usually less than a half dozen restoration companies. And my guest today, newer client, I asked him, hey, do you want to be in the building? And he jumped on a plane, came down to Austin, Texas, and we had a great time. My guest today is Erik Peterson. Erik is the General Manager of Arko Restoration located in Blaine, Minnesota. Erik, thank you for joining the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast today.
No, Clinton, thank you very much for having me. This is great.
All right. Now, again, last minute decision to leave the cold of Minnesota and come down to Austin to sit in a room for a day with a bunch of other guys that own restoration companies. What went into your thought process when I asked you?
Honestly, right away, I said, let's do it. I mean, I collaborate with some local restoration contractors around here. Kind of people I've known for many, many years. It's kind of nice to get out and see what other contractors do across the country. Everybody has their own ways of doing things. They're good, the bad, the ugly, what have you. And it's good to get in a room and just kind of hear what everyone else is doing, hear their mistakes, tell everybody what my mistakes are, and have people tell me what I can do better and work with them on how they can be better too.
I think we had a really powerful conversation in that room about how we as business owners kind of spend our time. But before we get into that and the exercise that we did, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your role there at Arko Restoration.
Sure. I've been with Arko here since 2020. I've been in the restoration industry as a whole since 2003. Started out as an estimator. Back then it was truly going out to every single site, meeting with every single customer, meeting adjusters actually on site. The good old days, if you will. We actually knew all the local adjusters and you could have conversations, but different conversation for a different day there maybe. But kind of worked that into, get into management and kind of overseeing companies and helping the company grow as a whole. So yeah, it's been a journey. I didn't even know this industry existed in 2003 when I jumped into it. I remember my first phone interview where they were talking about mitigations and dehumidifiers and air movers, and I went, I don't know what you're talking about, but I worked for a remodeling company at the time, and I was like, I honestly didn't have that hardcore sell mentality. The restoration side of it, I'd be able to go in and help people and be able to help them put their house back together because they're in a time of need, was a much better fit to my personality, to be honest. So
I love that. Let the audience know, give us a breakdown of the restoration services that you guys provide at Arko.
sure, we do, we're full service. We do the emergency mitigation services 24/7, answer the call, get out there, start the mitigation process, all the way up to putting the whole house back together. We don't do any personal property contents aspect of stuff, but anything that has to do with the actual structure itself, we can take care of it and put it back together for you.
All right. So a lot of the folks in the audience, their restoration companies offer different services, right? We've got restoration companies that just do water mitigation, right? Great margins. You don't have to hire the high-end labor there because you're not putting the homes back together there. Give the audience a breakdown of what your team looks like right now, right? How many service vehicles do you guys have? Approximately how many techs or project managers?
Sure. So right now we have about 12 water mitigation technicians to kind of handle the emergency side of stuff. We have about four in-house. We call them just carpenters. It's kind of a generic term for the crew that can do just the drywall patches, the little paints, a little bit of trim, hang a door, that kind of stuff. Anything larger as far as the repairs, we use vendors that are just um, faster, honestly, can get on jobs sooner than our in-house guys. So our in-house guys are more intended for that kind of stuff. We have 3 estimators that handle estimating the mitigation side of stuff and the repair side of stuff. We have 4 project managers that will oversee the construction on the repair side. We have a mitigation manager who kind of oversees that department. Um, 2 internal coordinators. We just added a new one here a few months ago. So that's been a humongous help that I'm sure we'll get into later here as we talk about, overseeing the business and delegating some of my tasks and whatnot. It's been a humongous help on that side of stuff. So it's kind of how we're set up.
So the reason I asked that question, Eric, because I want the audience to know the kind of the scale of the size of Arko, right? You guys are a multi-7-figure restoration company. You guys have been doing this for decades. You've got a large team, a leadership team, the infrastructure necessary to scale a restoration business. Now, what was your biggest takeaway from being in a room in Austin, sitting with 4 or 5 other restoration company owners, talking about what's working and what's not working in your business?
For that meeting, especially how open everybody was. They were more than willing to talk about their flaws. And everybody has flaws. Everybody has things that they wish they could be better at. And to be in a room with a bunch of like-minded, whether it's business owners or managers or whatever their position is, for everybody to talk about their flaws and if everybody's willingness to help each other out, to sit there and say, "Hey, I do this. Maybe you want to try this. Hey, I do this. Maybe you want to try this." Um, and just the general honesty that everybody who came to the table with was the best part.
Now, you and I, actually everybody in the group, we had one really specific conversation about how business leaders are really spending their time. Now, before that conversation, how would you typically describe your daily workload?
I used to joke with my wife. She would ask me how my day was going to look that day in the morning, and I'd say I have no idea. You know, 'Cause it's the emergency mitigation world of, I think I have a plan when I walk in the front door, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose, and you just don't know what's going on. And next thing you know, you're driving home going, I didn't get anything done that day. And it became a common just as it grew and as things got more and more I don't even know the best term for it. We didn't have the roles set in place. It was just you know it was chaos. Essentially it was controlled chaos. I mean, everybody, it was kind of the joke in the industry is that's what we do every day is try to control chaos, and that works when you are a little bit smaller. But as you get bigger and bigger, the risk is much higher. When everything has to kind of go through me, it kind of creates a bottleneck in the whole process too. That can create all kinds of problems. So it was, yeah, it was just most every day of just kind of making sure fires are being put out.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone in that room to a man had really that same issue, right?
Mhm.
So really in the course of the conversation, I had shared with you guys that with my agency, with my leadership team, one of the things that I was working on was an exercise where I would go through and list out every activity, every task that I did on a day-to-day basis in a Google Sheet, right? Once all those tasks were listed, what I did is I went back, I reviewed them, and I basically put them into 4 different buckets, right? The first bucket being core. These are the things, the tasks that I do on a day-to-day basis that are absolutely critical, high-level activities that are going to move the business forward. These are things that I, because of my role, my experience, my skill set, I am uniquely qualified to fill that or to handle that task, right? So those are the core roles. I'm sure you have some of those on your plate as well.
No, yeah, of course. And I did the same thing. Kind of, I created my own spreadsheet. Using Chat GPT, who just said create the spreadsheet spreadsheet for me, and
Love it.
wonderful like that. So I, and went through everything, and it was a daunting task. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Now, in addition to core activities, we also have supportable, which means things that I probably should use my experience and expertise to help other team members to accomplish. Delegatable, which is something I don't even know if that's a word, Eric, but delegatable, right? A task that I want to train, create an SOP, train a team member, and ultimately have that team member then own that task moving forward. And then automatable. Now, again, I don't know if that's a real word, but we're going to go with it anyway. You talked about using AI. AI is a great tool for you to leverage to automate a lot of the monotonous, like reoccurring tasks that we have in our businesses today. So you sat down, completed this exercise. Is it okay to ask how many line items, how many tasks did you ultimately end up with? Do you have an estimate or anything like that?
Kind of an ongoing task list, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, it's again, I think there's so many things that you don't realize that you do in a day until you have to go write them all down. And so I find myself constantly, like, it's literally just up on my second screen, just as a constantly going to add more things to it as the day goes through, or kind of honing it in a little bit. Honestly, right now I got 14 tasks on there. I probably spread that out to be 25 if I want to be more detailed on exactly what they were. Some of them are fairly generic.
Okay.
So
All right. So, what was your initial reaction when you started the exercise, listing out the tasks that you do on a day to day or a week to week basis?
you brought it up at the masterminds to one of the other owners that was there, and I remember thinking, "Holy cow! I can't even imagine writing this list." I mean, just I think one of the questions was, "How long would it take you to make the list?" And I'm going, "It would take me a month to make the list because it's constantly there's so many things you just don't realize that you're doing."
All right. So, you get back from Austin, you're creating your list. What was your first reaction to that exercise?
I was honestly overwhelmed with it. I mean, I was not sure exactly where to start. You know what I mean? So I literally went to said, okay, what do I do on Mondays? What do I do on Tuesdays? What do I do on Wednesdays? And just try to kind of play through what I at least have planned for each day to write it all down. And just kind of made the list, kind of went through all the stuff, and um yeah, I mean, it was just and then kind of kept it up on my second screen and kept adding to it as I would do something else. I go, oh shoot, I got to add that to the list. Oh yeah, I got to add to the list.
Yeah. It's still a work in progress for you, right? This is a living document that you're just going to continue to add additional tasks and then responsibilities to.
100%.
Okay. Um, when you were putting together the list, were there any tasks, like any moment where you were creating some tasks and you're like, I probably shouldn't be the one doing this?
100%. That was almost the hard part of making the list. As I was putting stuff on the list, I'm kind of like, I would never want to tell people that this is on my task list because I shouldn't be doing it. But I just I just do it because I feel like I have to have that control. I have to have that involvement in my fingers in every single aspect of every single thing. And then I started with this way, but no, that's the whole point of this exercise, is to put those items on the list so you can see how much time you're truly spending on tasks that you don't need to do.
I love that you mentioned time. After the exercise, how much time do you think you spent working literally in the business as opposed to working on the business?
I would say probably about 60% in it and 40% on it was the kind of the rough math I was thinking of the whole thing. So I mean, that again, the chat GPT spreadsheet did actually separate all that out as to what percentage was true core tasks and what percentage wasn't. So it was enlightening to see.
All right, good. Give the audience some examples of some of the core tasks, the things that you really think should stay on your plate.
A lot of it's just kind of overseeing, the where the business is going. Where kind of having a where are we going to be in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, whatever type of deal, whatever, however far we want to really go, and kind of figure, okay, how are we going to get there? We all have goals, we all have places we want our businesses to be, and kind of setting up where those things are how the company gets there is kind of the biggest thing I think that should be spent, from my time. And then another part is just verifying that some of these delegated tasks are being done as well. You can't just let it go free and just let everybody do whatever they're supposed to do and hope they're doing it the right way. You got to do some checking on some stuff. Um, just staying on top of the numbers, the general accounting of stuff, making sure that all the financials are in a good place, but again, not counting every single penny per se. We have other, so just more general oversight. Um, I honestly spend a lot of my time just going around to my team and making sure everybody's okay. As we know in this business, it gets hectic, it gets crazy. I mean, uh, 6 weeks ago in Minnesota, it was 20 below for a week straight. That gets a major influx of projects that come in.
Sure.
And there's certain divisions that get really, really busy really, really fast. And then it goes to the other division and they get really, really busy really, really fast. So it's checking in with them just to see how they're doing. Anything I can do to help them. What can we do to change some of our policies and procedures to make everything go smoother? Like I had said earlier, we brought on a new coordinator a few months ago and trying to figure out how she fits into this whole mix. And now that we have two coordinators, they can take on even more. So what more can they do? They're very, very good at what they do. They want to take on more work. And working with them to say, almost see what they can see that can be done better too.
I love that. One of the things you mentioned is with a team at scale at your size, part of your time is spent, strategic vision for the company. Part of it is spent, making sure that financially the business is healthy so that you can create that kind of growth. But another big core function is just team management, right? So how many direct reports do you have in the organization that report directly to you right now, Erik?
Right now there are 10, and that needs to be cut way down.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm rereading Alex Duda's book, Restoration Millionaire, and I think his sweet spot is like 7 or 8. Nobody should have more than 7 or 8 direct reports there. So you're close. All right. So those being the core functions, can you give the audience some insight as to some functions that you wanted to delegate, some tasks, I'm sorry, that you wanted to delegate to other team members?
Yeah, the biggest ones. So we use Dash as our CRM, which has some internal functions and procedures and compliance tasks and all that kind of stuff for each role throughout the project. And I found myself going through and actually completing some of the tasks for other people, and it may just has been as simple as just clicking the task as complete because it got completed. They just got busy. They didn't click the button, and doing simple things like that, like marking jobs as paid. Well, if they're paid, I don't need to click the pay button. That's what, the coordinators can take care of that. That's what they should be doing. It's better for them to actually know that than for me to know that, to be honest.
Absolutely.
So it's those little minute tasks that are done through the project to um, allow other people to take on those responsibilities to help the actual flow of the project. I was probably slowing things down, to be honest, by doing some of the stuff myself.
One of the things that I'm trying to do right now is as I go through my tasks, a lot of the way those tasks are executed is stored up here in my head, right? I need to create SOPs and I need to create playbooks for really everything that I do on a day-to-day basis. It makes it a lot easier when I decide, hey, I want to delegate this to a team member. They've got an SOP to follow. They've got a Loom video that shows them what I'm talking about there. When I went through that exercise, though, in terms of identifying the tasks that I wanted to delegate, I realized that through technology, through automation, through AI, there were some of those tasks that I could automate as opposed to delegate to team members there, right? Did you have any tasks like that in your list?
Automation, I would say, is one of the biggest things we need to work on as a company as a whole. We use chat just for general searches and questions and this and the next thing, but as far as general automations, it kind of scares the crap out of me to sit there and sit there and trust a AI to do what we do, because so much of what we do is dealing with the customer,
Sure.
and to trust AI to deal with the customer in certain ways uh, just scares the bejesus out. I can't imagine it. Are there other things we could utilize? Yeah, I mean, since we came back from that Austin Masterminds, I've been, trying to dip my toe into some of the other just process management softwares out there. There's endless amounts out there trying to figure out what truly is the best one. That most of them you have to pay for, and that's fine. It's well worth it if it actually does what they say it's supposed to do.
Vet your vendors when you're investing in that kind of technology, right?
Exactly.
All right. So, big picture, you made the list. You took each task, you labeled it as either core, delegatable, supportable, or automatable, right? You're consistently adding additional tasks to that list. Now that that exercise is not done, because it'll never ever be fully done, but as you take a step back, did anything surprise you about the results that you saw?
Um, as a whole, there's not a lot of detailed tasks that I do, which is, coming from the being an estimator every day and actually completing things every single day and running projects every single day. It's like you had specific tasks that you completed, and as a manager of the company, to just spend most of your time with oversight, there's not a lot of definitive tasks that are put on that list, which was kind of hard to take on at times, but that is kind of what the role is.
Sure, sure. You're a steward of the health of the business, right?
Right.
Whether that's strategy, finance, or the people that actually make things happen for the business and for the homeowners and business owners that you guys serve. One last thing, one talking point on that. Did you discover any like huge time leaks, any distractions in that list that are really eating up too much of your day?
Just general interruptions still. I mean, certain questions that people have that they come to me for answers, and I think most of the time they just need reassurance that what they're doing is the right thing to do,
Sure.
and they 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 come to me and say, "I'm thinking about doing this. Is that okay?" And majority of the time is, "Yeah, that sounds great."
There
And
you go.
the team we have here just has an abundance of experience. They've all been doing this for a very, very, very long time. They know what they're doing, and they almost sometimes need to trust themselves more than they really do. So it's to take that part out of my day would save a lot of time too.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that you're empowering those team members, but you actually took it a step further, right? So when you started this exercise, you were like, we're in a group chat with a bunch of the other people that attended the Austin Mastermind there. You mentioned that, hey, not only did I do this, but I wanted to share this with my team as well. So how did you present this exercise to your team members? And which team members specifically did you think that this would be a good exercise for?
Yeah, the main person for us was our mitigation manager. His name's Rick. He started out as a water tech, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago. Kind of worked his way up through the industry, and to be honest, he's the ultimate control freak. He wants to. I mean, his ability to know what's going on every project is amazing. And when I first started, I was amazed at how well he knew what was going on in every single job that we had going on. And now we've just grown so much that he can't. And he struggles with giving up that control and giving that power to his team as it's grown as well. So I actually gave it to him and kind of his um, lead field guy too, to kind of go through all their tasks. And
Well, what was the initial reaction when you had that conversation with him?
He was a little taken aback, but I think he understands. Like he's well aware that that's something he needs to work on. We've talked about it for years, and now it's been so we've honestly been meeting once a week for the last couple of weeks just to kind of go over everything and figure out how we're going to delegate these things and truly helping him get there. Which um, he's taken on. And he's always done that. He's always been more than willing to accept the changes, and just the process to get there is always not the easiest. And I think this these steps we're taking through the what can be delegated, what can be automated, what actually he has to do, is make him truly understand that wait a minute, I don't need to do everything that I'm currently doing. He was trying to get onto every single job site. He was trying to make sure that everybody was doing what they're supposed to do on every single job. And we're just too busy for him to even contemplate that.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, when you put your list up and you put his list up, did you guys identify any like overlaps or any like really big bottlenecks that are preventing you guys from scaling the business?
Not between he and I. I'm as a whole, I've always fully trusted his ability to run that division. And so I purposely try to stay out of it, because when it's that chaotic as far as who's going where, what, when, and how, um, to have two people try to run that just doesn't work. So I've always kind of left that to him. Our conversations are more, talking about what happened last month and what we could have done better, as opposed to, hey, we just got a bunch of work in, do this, do this, do this. And he's going, no, I'm doing this and this and this. So there's not a ton of overlap on that kind of stuff. It's more trying to elevate him to a higher level now too, because as we grow, his responsibilities change as well.
Sure. Sure. They say, what is it? Delegate and elevate, right? As you hand off tasks to other team members, it allows you to elevate and take on more higher level, higher impact functions in the business there. So as you sit there with a list, you got your core items, the things that you want to focus on. You've got items that you still need to be involved in from a support standpoint with your team members. You've delegated items to specific team members to kind of get off of your plate, and you're in the process of learning technologies and implementing systems that'll allow you guys to automate it so that people don't have to do functions that technology can take over. Um, how do you think? How do you think this exercise is going to improve efficiency, or accountability?
I think it'll actually help define roles. I mean, I think that's the hardest part, as at least what I've seen as the company grows, is taking roles that used to just kind of be, okay, you're gonna, like going back to Rick, our mitigation manager, saying, okay, you just run the mitigation department. Well, now he knows exactly what his tasks are in that mitigation department. Talking to the coordinators now, that says they're going to help out our staff administratively. What exactly are their defined roles on everything? It makes things go so much smoother. The goal is to get away from any sort of bottleneck in the process that's going to slow things down, and to have those SOPs in place and say, this is how we operate from start to finish, should hopefully make everything just go smoother in the mass chaos. Like I said, the idea of trying to control chaos, that's how you control chaos, is with some sort of system, and making that system work for your team is the key.
I'm sure there's a restoration company owner right now that's sitting at their desk. They've got this open on YouTube. They're also doing two or three tasks. They're responding to a text message from an insurance adjuster or something like that. What would you say to that restoration? What's the easiest way for him to get started with this exercise? Because it might sound a little complex. It might sound a little overwhelming at first.
Honestly, it's allowing your team to prove themselves. Don't just dump the whole task list on to that delegated person. Take little baby steps. Let them prove who they are, and once you trust them with a little bit, you can start giving them more and more and more, and eventually you're going to look back and go, wow, I can't believe I used to do all this stuff. There's things I did 5 years ago that I don't even think about on a daily basis now, because other people take care of it, and it scared the crap out of me back then too. But it's the idea of, you have certain customers that only want to work with me, and I tried to still oversee those customers and be involved with those customers with property management type stuff. And I my involvement now with them is, whenever we get together for group events, I stop by and say hi. And
That's scary though, isn't it? Right? Because you work so hard to cultivate that business, and it's so important to the revenue that you guys bring in on an annual basis. Like, I mean, talk a little bit about that. Like, because that's I struggle with that as well. Right? Like, what is it?
it literally, I remember when I came on board here, I told the founder, I said, there's no way that anybody is ever going to touch this client except for me. Never. It's mine. I've worked with them for many, 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 many years. And now we have a business development rep that, that's his main client. So he goes around to say hi to all the buildings. We have an estimator internally that he handles all their properties. And we have a project manager that he does every single one of their building repairs. So they all know exactly who they're dealing with. They know that it's a high hand holding type of client that needs some extra attention. And I didn't think that anybody else could do it. You know,
Do you think it's an ego thing that we have, that we're the only person that can possibly identify, help, support, nurture the relationship with this
I
client?
think that's one of the biggest flaws with any sort of business owner as a whole, is just we all have big egos. We want to run everything because we think we're the best at everything. And that's also the biggest flaw, is that we think that we can run everything and do everything ourselves and nobody can do it better. And trying to get out of that mindset, and it's just trust too. I mean, you understand that that person's going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it the right way all the time. I think one of the comments we made down in Austin was, if the person you assign it to can do it at 80% of what you could do it, but now it frees up all that time for you, is that truly better for the business?
If someone can do it 80% as well as you, it's 100% awesome, right? Because that is one of those things that you can remove. Now, we're a couple weeks away from being the end of the quarter. Are there any tasks you personally plan to stop doing based on this exercise in the next couple weeks?
My eventual goal is to truly only look at our CRM dash maybe once a week. Just trust that people are doing what they're supposed to do. You know, maybe glance at it here and there, but my ultimate goal is to get to the point where it's maybe just once a week for a very short period of time. You know, get away from running the weekly meetings, the work in progress type meetings, that all that kind of stuff. Um, as hard as it is to say, to not know the specifics of every single job that's in production. And that just it's it almost sounds like I'm not even doing my job by saying that, but it's like that's kind of where it has to go. We're too busy for me to slow down the process.
Yeah, and that's what you become, right? You become the bottleneck. You become the problem. It's the reason that your company can't go from 2 to 5, from 5 to 10, from 10 to $20 million a year, right?
Right.
So I hope that the audience listening to this, they understand two things. One, this exercise, it can be really impactful, right? Take an hour, just start, create a Google sheet, list all your tasks out there. Again, make a little drop down with those options there. Core, supportable, delegatable, automatable, and then just daily, just adding additional tasks, things that you do on a day-to-day basis there. All right, let's talk a little bit about Arko before we leave. What do you say as the biggest challenge? Because you guys are in Minnesota,
Yep.
definitely one of the more competitive markets in the country.
Yep.
What do you see as one of the biggest challenges for Arko over the next few years in trying to scale the business?
The biggest thing for me and my team is we want to get big enough where we can handle more sizable projects. But
Yeah.
I don't know that we have the true desire to become the $100 million company.
Okay.
I mean, I like the fact that when I walk through our shop and there's a water tech that started last month, I know who he is, and it's hard to say I ever want to get to the point where I don't know who everybody is. And I don't know if that's ultimately necessary, but you also want to be to the size where you can take on some more interesting type projects, you know, and it's finding that happy medium between not being this big corporate conglomerate where, nobody knows who anybody is and everybody just kind of doesn't care about anything. They're just there to do a job, you know, and but also being able to handle the sizable stuff. So it's struggling with that mentality.
I think about our audience, Eric, and I think about all of the restoration companies that I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with over the last 7, almost 8 years now. A lot of them came from corporate America, right? They worked for these huge corporations where you're just a name, a badge number,
Right.
and getting into home services where you, one, want to know everybody that you're working with, and two, you're so critical to the homeowners and the business owners that you're providing these emergency services to. I love the fact that you're like, hey, we want to scale this business, but I don't want to get to the point where I don't know the guys that are in the warehouse. I don't know the guy that I'm bumping into when I'm trying to microwave up some soup in
Right.
the afternoon because it's cold in Minnesota. So all right. Again, I really want to thank you for jumping on here with me, Eric. Super impressed with you, super impressed with the team over at Arko Restoration. Looking forward to working with you guys for a long time. I really want two takeaways for the audience today. One is I want them to understand how impactful this exercise can be on their business. But I want to piggyback off what you said a moment ago about trusting and delegating, like those clients, those relationships that you think you're the only one that can manage, man. You've got other people in your business, people that are smarter than you, people that may not do things the exact same way you do them, but they can have just as good of an impact with that client, that customer there. So any parting words for the audience, any parting words of wisdom for that guy that's, $1-2 million a year, they're looking to scale up to the level of a company like Arko Restoration?
Again, hire good people that you can trust, and do your due diligence on who you bring on board, and make sure that you can trust who they are. I think so many people just they look at resumes that have a laundry list of experience on it, and they go, oh, that guy knows what he's doing, or that gal knows what he's doing, so I'm going to hire them. And they don't do their diligence to make sure that they're actually good people, and especially in this business, you have to have good people. You can teach the hard skills. You can't teach the soft skills. And once you can trust that at least your people are going to take care of that customer, if they miss something in a line item in an estimate, if they miss something as far as running the project, at the end of the day, if that customer is taken care of, everything will be just fine.
I agree, especially when we talk about an exercise like this, where you're delegating tasks to other team members there, and entrusting them to handle those things. It's really important to have the right people in the right seat there. So,
Right.
Erik, I want to thank you for being a guest on the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. Guys, if you like the conversation that you heard today, make sure that you subscribe, follow us on social media, get at us on YouTube. We're also going to be launching a new website dedicated exclusively to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast in the coming weeks. But Erik, thank you again for your time.
You have
And we'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, we hope you guys stay busy, because it's heating up a little bit in different parts of the country. Hopefully it's heating up a little bit there in Minnesota. But
it was 2 below this morning, so
we know what's coming next, though. April showers will bring May flowers there. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Erik.
thanks, Len.
Thank you for listening to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe, share, and also leave us a 5-star review. We'll be back with more interviews and discussions with restoration industry leaders really soon. In the meantime, if you're a restoration company looking to add more high-value water jobs, you can reach me and my team at waterrestorationmarketing.net. Again, that's waterrestorationmarketing.net. I look forward to hearing from you soon.